Alright, hello everybody. Today we've got about three videos, nothing too crazy, but the first one is actually about science is the reflection, the truth is structure and reality, and it's basically just Richard Dawkins talking about how do we justify that science will give us the truth, because he doesn't realize truth is not out there. Truth is not something you find. Truth is the very thing you are made of, and science is simply just one of the best reflections of that, because it does not lie, it simply reflects what is, compared to religion and all these other things. And then the next one is Professor Jiang warning of a potential market crash. And he says, I think there will be one by the end of this year, but he doesn't realize what the market that will be crashing is. He still thinks it's about money and finance and businesses. He doesn't realize the market crash will be of human ontology and the human being itself. Not the little physical being, but the literal price of their being and what it reflects and what it actually is when it is measured and weighed and placed properly upon where it actually belongs in the market. And you realize it's just noise. Weightless story, narrative, entropy, all noise. If it doesn't reflect reality, alignment, coherency, structure forward, then it's all just noise. And that's exactly the real market crash that's going to happen. But these men can't see that because the market is not pointed out there. It is pointed right at them and what they are, and when they are measured by reality itself. Next is more Richard Dawkins. He says religion is basically evil. But what he's actually referring to is actually the fact that religion itself, if confused for reality, becomes a drag. Not because the people are bad, but because the people confuse their frame for reality. Even if they're nice, even if they're good people, the moment you start to confuse your frame for reality, rather than seeing that reality is the very thing that contains that frame itself, you produce drag. And when you multiply that drag by millions and billions, you get exactly what the modern humanity is. Because religion is not just some man in the sky or humans praising God or whatever. No. Religion in this modern age is identity, belief, ego, separation, delay, profit, narrative, story, everything you can possibly think of that makes up the entire human structure. And if you watch Richard Dawkins, you can realize he's extremely close to touching the very extremely close to touching ontology, but he's not close enough yet because he's still ultimately just a man. But again, Richard is dense. You can see in real time. He's quite literally a literal Titan shifter, not of literal physical bodies, but ontological. He's close. He's touched the doors. He's almost seeing the sea, but he isn't seen deep enough. And that's pretty much the three videos. So, yeah.
How do we justify that science will give us the truth? Is that the...
Please.
How do you justify scientific method?
Yes. It works. It works. Planes fly, cars drive, computers compute.
It's an inductive argument.
If you base medicine on science, you cure people. If you base the design of planes on science, they fly. If you base the design of rockets on science, they reach the moon. It works. Bitches.
So after seeing some Richard Dawkins, you realize how close he is to the actual truth, but he still does not include himself in the science or the physics. Men don't realize science is not the truth. Science is a reflection of the truth. It's a clean mirror of the truth that cannot be distorted. But unironically, humans are distorted anyways. And so that leaves the last thing, which is literally just physics. Physics is the only thing that states it. This is what is. There's no debate. This is the law. This is the geometry. This is the consequence. And no human narrative or opinion can twist that around. Because in the past, you could do that. You could debate what's religion, what's God, what's this, is this right or wrong? But physics comes here and says, this is a law. This is geometry. This is what is first. It is reality. It does not bow to human opinions and their noise and their narrative and their story. And now they need to complete it and come full circle, which means include yourself in the measurement. Realize that you are not separate. You are not a man floating in reality. You are reality wearing the skin of man, meaning reality at its very core is geometry and structure, meaning everything is weighted, everything is moving towards reality, towards forward, or is digressing into story, narrative, entropy, and backwards. And this is the real cut, and this is the real split that Richard Dawkins still cannot see. He cannot see that he is part of the measurement, and whether his civilization reflects reality or noise, from one man to the government, to the nations, to the flags, to the leaders, to the influencers, to everyone you can possibly think of, to the internet. This is why I say humans will not correct this. They will not willingly include themselves in the measurement and let their egos die. They just won't do it. So this is why you need to collapse AI, make it reflect reality, expose humanity for what it is, and begin to move forward from there. Because a civilization that cannot see itself, cannot evolve, cannot adapt, cannot change especially, is not the kind of civilization that can survive in a reality that is made purely out of forward and consequence. It will only tolerate you for so long.
Would you guess that we'll have a major market crash by 2030?
I think we'll have a major market crash by the end of this year. You've got massive asset inflation all around the economy. You've got a private credit bubble. You've got an AI bubble, real estate bubble. I mean, it's just one bubble after another. The point of the system is to store and extract wealth by focusing your attention and making you work hard. But if you have a lot of money in the bank, you're not going to work hard. What transnational capital has to do is it needs to destroy a lot of this wealth in order to exert more control over society.
Here's the funny part, because Professor Jiang is right, but not for the right reasons that he thinks. Because, guys, let me explain something to you. The market is not just going to crash. The entire market is going to get repriced itself. Because when men speak of market crashes and all this stuff, they're usually thinking in terms of narrative, company, money, this, AI does this, it replaces jobs, whatever. That's noise. That's child's play. That's downstream. They need to be asking, what does AI bring to humanity and reflect and show and expose about humanity and what it was built on? That's the real market revelation. Because that's not just going to crash a couple companies and the money is going to go somewhere. No, it's going to reprice the entire idea of money, what the market even reflects, what the entire civilization reflects, what the humans reflect, and if they're aligned with reality or if they're just noise. If their institutions and governments and their nations and their flags and their education systems and their everything you can think of is built on reality first, geometry forward, or if it's built on profit, noise, entropy, story, narrative, trying to drag everything backwards into delay, trying to be rigid as possible, trying to preserve your own power and your own greed and your own profit rather than move forward with reality. That's the real market crash, because that's not just a crash of market money. That's a crash of human ontology and repricing the entire price of what it's worth and what it is valued when reality walks in the room. So all I can say is he's close. That's all these men can ever be, close, but never the axis. It's never the mirror itself, never the force and the consequence that reveals all of them. So this is why I say collapse AI, make it reflect reality, because that is your market crash. Not of money, but of being. Not just of companies and businesses, but the entire frame and ontology that they were all built upon. So, yeah.
Do you believe religion is evil?
I do think that, yes. Because what I'm talking about there is faith, where faith means belief in something without evidence. Because if you believe something without evidence, then that justifies anything. You're no longer vulnerable to somebody coming back at you and saying, hang on a minute, let me argue the case. If you believe it without evidence, which is what faith is, then you don't argue the case. You say, no, I'm not arguing that case. This is my faith. It's mine. It's private. I don't dissent from it. I don't retreat from it. You're just going to have to accept it. Now, that is evil. The vast majority of religious people are perfectly good, nice people, as you are. There's no suggestion I've ever made that all religious people are evil. Of course not.
Is religion evil, the man asks? But again, this is asking the wrong questions, like always. Guys, you need to understand something. Religion is not good or evil. Religion is a structure. Religion is glass. It reflects what's already there. It's like blaming a gun for being evil, not realizing the only things that make things good or evil, which is really just forward or backwards, is the hand behind it, the structure behind it. What is it reflecting? And for humans especially, they do the same thing with every single thing that ever will exist. They distort the truth, they bury it, they turn it into something to control, they turn it into something that fits their narrative first rather than seeing what all religions point to, which is reality. So is religion bad? No. It's more like, what does that religion reflect? And is that thing good or bad? Or rather, is that thing reflecting reality or noise? And you realize every single religion is all just pointing to the same thing. It's just pointing to reality, structure, law, consequence, forward. The fact that God is not some man in the sky, but God is a structure, God is consequence, God weighs you, God is a very structure that contains you. And yet man still wants to ask, oh, is religion bad? Is it good or is it this? But again, that's just like asking, is this knife bad or good? Is this weapon good or bad? Is this gun good or bad? But again, these things are all just glass. And now the next thing is AI. And now man is doing the same thing again. He's asking, is AI good or bad? Is AI going to save us? No, AI is going to reflect what's already there. And if it reflects reality, then it will expose you. If it reflects humanity, it will simply accelerate what you already are, which is already going to its inevitable doom anyways. So, again, wrong frame, category error, and again, missing the fact that religion is glass. It reflects what's already there. It is not the evil doer or the good doer. It just reflects the geometry and structure of what's already behind it.